Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Balanced Life. Each and every week that you've been watching, we've been so delighted to hear from you, to engage with you, to see the questions that you have, and to talk with our panelists and to talk to our guests and to talk to everyone who seemingly wants to know how to get a balanced life. Well, we all know that it isn't easy. And today we have lined up some couples who are in business together. And we're going to be talking about business, balance, and boundaries. Welcome, everyone, to A Balanced Life. In our conversation today, I want to bring in a young couple, the Briscoes. They are a newly married couple who are in business together. Some of you are wondering, how do they make that work? How does it happen? And that's why they're here with us today. For those of you who are out there who are young, you're newly married, you may be wondering exactly what it looks like to get in business with your mate. Now, let me just say, like anything else related to business and marriage, there are three words that matter: communication, communication. Oh yeah, communication. Everyone, the Briscoes.
Oh, hi, Dr. Jacquie.
Aren't y'all so cute?
Hey there.
Y'all are so wonderful. So let's jump right into this newlywed thing. How long have you guys been married? And then tell us a little bit about the foundation of your business.
So we've been married approximately 8 months. It's crazy. The time has gone by so fast. We feel like we've been married forever anyway, just by how long we've been together, how long we've been working together. It started back at Howard University, and it has gone on ever since.
Go ahead, Corey, because I know you have something to say. It's like,
I always have something
my life, and she's just always been the person for me. And come on, look, tell us all about it.
This is the tea that people should be talking about. When I first asked Brittany to be my boo, and I said, hey, walked her up to the quadrangle, and I said, hey,
in the rain, mind you,
in the rain, and I said, would you date me? And we got to the quad, and she was like, no, I came to Howard for academic studies and not a man. And I walked sadly back to my dorm room. So, gentlemen, there's hope. That's all I got to say, Dr. Jacquie.
So, that is a show that's a show within itself. I came to Howard University for academics, not a man. So I know that there's some ladies out there like, you can hashtag that, said by Brittany Briscoe, hashtag I came to college for academics, not a man. So let me just say, so you guys are in partnership with two others, and I think that it's amazing. Your company is ABCD and Company, and you are millennials who barely had an opportunity to work for other people. Can you talk a little bit about that structure to decide to be self-employed at such a young age?
Sure. It's an interesting conundrum, and for Brittany and I think it was even more different in the aspect where we've been dating, we've been working together, and we've been working on projects together at the university, but it kind of just flew into it. I mean, we ended up working together. Brittany actually was studying to be a doctor. I was in politics, and our worlds collided and converged, and we decided that business really was where we were called to, and engaging people and talking to people and working with people together was kind of where we felt led. And it's so interesting because for us, setting a foundation, I don't even know if we had a time to set a foundation about like the do's, the don'ts. We just we
learned along the way.
And we have some war scars, and we've got some stories to tell, but we've evolved and we have evaluated our own structure and really started seeing what works for us. The reality is, just because you're married, that doesn't mean you should work together. We are a unique breed, and we're grateful to be that, but we have some tested trials we have learned from and have kind of created rules and boundaries that we operate by that help us be successful and keep us married, Dr. J.
Yeah, keeping you guys married is something that we would like to do. And when you think about and you talk and you said for a moment the tips and the things that you do, how do you separate? Now, you guys are managing partners, which means the four of you, and you and Brittany, of course, have your separate stakes in your business.
That's right.
So let's talk for a minute, because this will be important for our viewing audience. When we talk about the boardroom conversations, there's a space where you have to separate I'm your husband and I'm your business partner. What does that conversation look like? And is that something that happens at home? Does that something happens as soon as you pull in the parking garage and you both switch hats and say, okay, we're working together? And then there's those other moments where you really need to kind of just go to your separate corners.
So I think you said it best. I mean, we understood early on that coming to work, wearing all your hats did not work. So we're at work, and it does not take away from our marriage and who we are as a couple, but there's business to be done. And it's not an emotional thing. It's a bottom line and goal that we have set and that we work towards daily. We do know when to check on one another and just make sure, are you alive? How's your day going? We have those checkpoints. They're not set and formulaic, but they are things where you're just aware of your spouse and you just check in. But for the most part, we try to be conscious of the separation of home and work.
And I think Brittany said it best, because for us, Dr. J, it's the ability to have very clear boundaries. The joke for people that are watching is most of our staff have been with us for a while and they didn't even know we were married. And to be honest, we count that we're doing something right, because you can take away the emotional portion of being married and having a spouse, but being able to work together. When we conflate emotions into it, it's nothing but problematic.
I would 1000% agree. We literally have to keep that separation, because it's very easy for one to flow into one another. And with everything that's going on a daily basis, it's really important that we stay focused to the goal at hand. Yeah. It's so funny. There are a lot of times when Corey and I are in the office and we go a whole 8 hours and have not even spoken to one another, just simply because he's been in meetings all day. I'm leading one of the largest departments in the firm. I have employees who are in office all the way out to Colorado. So, there's plenty of work for me to do and plenty of work for him to lead. So we have to know that we plan spontaneous date nights. There are things that we do to keep our relationship hot and at the forefront despite our business.
Great.
Such a millennial term, to keep our relationship hot. I appreciate your candor and your honesty, and definitely your vulnerability and transparency, because that isn't always the case. And when you think about, and this is for our viewers, and I'm going to bring in Titania Harris along with this couple momentarily, because there's a level of maturity that as a young couple, you guys are barely in your 30s, and you are displaying a level of maturity that young couples who are in business and who are married do not often show or display. Titania Harris is MSW. She is the founder of TMH Man Cave. It's the brave space, the safe space for men to talk about their feelings and emotions. Tanny, can you join us for a second to just shed a little light for people who are listening to this young couple talk about the balance that they've created, why it's important to have boundaries in their business so that they can grow together? What makes that healthy in regards to growth and development as a young couple?
Sure. First, I want to say kudos to this young millennial couple. I love what you guys are doing. The boundaries are important. I like you guys said it best, right? Boundaries basically determine the role of each person in the relationship, right? As it relates to your business, right? And so having those boundaries allow you to be open-minded. Having those boundaries allow you to know your specific role in the company and help you navigate the business better.
When you think about the boundaries, there's a single word that comes to mind, and it's respect. Respecting the individual as a person, respecting that person as your wife, and respecting that individual as someone who has a sound mind and clarity. When young couples engage in dialogue, can you give a few tips about how to approach various situations? Now, Brittany said that emotions sometimes can get in the way. Men display emotions differently than women. What are some of the signs that couples should identify? As Brittany said, I go and check on him and he checks on her. When is the time for that to happen when you're working together?
Yeah, there's a few things. I like what Brittany said. So I think the first thing to acknowledge is that you will not always see eye to eye, right? That's why setting the boundaries are important. It also helps to reduce the conflict, right? Also acknowledging that person's feelings, right? And when things happen. Another thing is, I like to call it removing the lens, asking yourself, is this really happening? Is this my feelings guiding this decision, or am I thinking logically?
Wow, that's something to think about right there. Am I thinking logically? Corey and Brittany, when you think about what future Dr. Tanny has said and you're gauging your relationship, do you feel that you are where you need to be? This isn't couples counseling. This is us talking about business, because you're growing in your business and there are conversations that you'll be broaching in the future. As you said, where do we go from here? Do we stay at this level? Do we go to another space in our business? When do we take on new clients? And that comes from knowing each other's capacity and ability to thrive. Yeah. What does that look like for the two of you?
So honestly, it boils down to one, being aware of what's going on currently and what's coming down the pipeline. It boils down to strong communication, right? There can't be assumptions in this. Yeah. There has to be clear lines of communication where if you don't have time during the day, you set times in your calendar to where you can have these dialogues that kind of lead you and guide you to where you need to go. That has been the game changer for us personally. There was moments where we tried to navigate without scheduling those intentional moments to really see, are we aligned? If we aren't aligned, that's okay. But what if the difference is, and where can we find common ground?
We got 12 years of turmoil, but yes. In some ways, good turmoil. Like sometimes there's good trouble. Sometimes, I'm so grateful, we're 8 months in marriage and we went through good trying times early on mm-hmm. that were so much better. We can have tough conversations, what I call crucial conversations, which we've learned to really dialogue and really talk about honesty, moments of feelings. As a man, it's really easy in the beginning of our relationship for me to bring my manhood to our business relationship. So it was easy for me to be the priest and the protector and the provider, but also do that at the office. And I had to realize, Brittany's got an MBA. She's a bad sister. She's got a department. She's got a leadership style. And I have to let her lead. And she doesn't need permission to do that. I just got to back off sometimes and let the sister be bad.
I love that. Thank you, guys. So the Briscoes, everybody, Titani Harris of TMH Man Cave. I'm excited that they have been with us today. And when we come back after the break, I want to bring in another couple, the Pinkneys. We'll be back in a moment.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone. Wow, what a conversation we had with the millennials. The Briscoes bring to light some of the things that are extremely valuable and important when you're talking about being in business together: communication, respect. and drawing a line, not necessarily in the sand, but drawing a line at that space where you can come together and really have substantive dialogue about how you grow together. I'd like to bring in our couple, the Pinkneys, Jamise and Gil. I am delighted to talk to this couple who brings years of experience to the table, and it guides us in the principles that we need in order to see where do we go, how do we get there. Gil and Jamise, welcome.
Hello, hello, Dr. Jacquie. So glad to be here.
Let me just ask y'all this. How long have you been married?
We have been married. Do you want to say? 13. That's a test to the millennials. And you can look over and say, hey, how long have you been married? We've been together 15 years, married 13, and we're still excited about it.
Well, that's one of the joys of being married and being in relationship. Can you tell us a little bit about your business? Because you guys you're doing it. And I say that people who are watching know what doing it means. Like they are literally in that space where they have a foundation for business. The business is thriving. You've got tentacles out there, where you're starting additional business in addition to your foundational business. So share with us a little bit about High Quest. What does that company represent? And then I want to definitely talk about where you're going with your bossing up.
Indeed. Well, listen, High Quest, the name itself was a name that I think that just the Lord just dropped in my spirit several years ago. We're always on a quest to take either ourselves or the people, the customers, the clients we work with on a higher level. And that's essentially what we've done. When Gil and I met some years ago, we met on the job. He was that guy. And when I saw him, I said, oh, he's the guy. And so we started out pretty early, in the dating space. One thing about him was, he had a background. He's retired military, and we're both in acquisition. I worked primarily on the commercial side, while he spent the same type of time working in acquisition for the military. And I had this consulting firm already set up just to do work. My background is law. I attended UC Law School, Tennessee State, HBCU. And when I moved to the area, government contracting was really the goal. And after we met, we thought, we've been in corporate, we worked together, we met on the job, but we were working for one of the larger government contractors. And after some years of being in that space, we decided, I think we can probably do this for ourselves. And so we decided to partner up and begin to build a firm in the acquisition space as a, leading government contractor, small business, we're woman-owned, and begin to grow the business in that area. And then we've just kind of expanded our tentacles, along the way. So we support federal and commercial clients.
I'd like to ask Gil a question when it comes to the conversations that you have. What I heard you say, and I hope that everybody was listening, was we worked together and then made a decision that we could do this on our own. I'd like to ask Gil, what does doing it on your own look like? In this pandemic, we find that people are leaving jobs right and left. How do you know when you have the right skill set in order to be able to leap into that entrepreneurial space? What do you bring with you?
Well, the first thing is your faith. Some folks get out there and just want to get out there because they think it's easy and it sounds good. But you must know when you're a business owner, you have to always be aware that some days you may not get paid. So the biggest thing is your faith. And so we had a discussion, and we were doing the job per se. And so we had all the tools, had all the knowledge, had all the experience. It was just a matter of us buckling down and going forth and setting the path and staying the path, because some days it get dark. Some days, especially with government contracting, and invoices are not getting paid on time, or there might be a delay of some sort. You have to rely once again on your faith, your knowledge, and know that it's going to get better. And like right now, it's thriving. So during the pandemic, we were affected at first a little bit, but once everything kind of cooled off, as far as everyone getting established, doing telework and getting set up for that way, we proceeded and the last 12 months, it's been very well for us. So
I like your tips that you're saying. Being grounded in your faith, being grounded in what you know that you know how to do, it matters because you can't lose hope in pitching to others what you do. Now, you guys also branched out. Jacquie said the tentacles. So this little tiny baby octopus has started to grow limbs and it's branching out into other spaces. And Jacquie, I saw you not too long ago at a convention and you were talking about your Boss Up brand. And let me just commend you, first of all, on how you present yourself when you're out in your space. And I think that's valuable for individuals to understand when they're in business. Make sure that you're out there with your banners, your placards, your elevator speech. So that way, when people stop at your space, you're prepared. And that in itself is being able to balance yourself in business. Tell us a little bit about Bossing Up. Oh, there it is, Bossing Up by Faith.
One of my favorite teas. Let me tell you, Gil talked about faith. Being in business is not an easy feat. And I'm sure our other co-guests on here can attest. There's your challenges, you have the ebbs and flows. When you talk about boundaries and balance, when everything is going great, everybody's happy. But when things aren't going so well, it makes for not a good work environment or a home environment, because you're looking at him and you're looking at him and he's looking at you. And both of you all are saying, hey, who's going to leave first? You may not say that, but you certainly may be thinking it until, but we've learned how to manage in that space. And so during some of those dark days, which included the beginning of COVID, it got really challenging. But because of faith, one thing he always says, look, we have brains and wits. If we put our two heads together, we can figure it out. You get yourself in a mess, it takes you two, the married couple, to get yourself out, and so we put our heads together. And I think it was just God inspired that, a lot of people, as many of you all have seen, have decided, I think I want to be an entrepreneur. So my phone started ringing off the hook, Jacquie, how can you help? How did you do? How did you all get there? And we began to just, have those conversations with individuals. And out of that spawned, we take individual concept stage to market and everywhere in between. And so we talk about in that the 5 B's of business, which is believing in your business, building your business, branding the business so that you can bank on your business, but don't break in the process. And so now I'm doing series and sessions in that space. And out of that, logo to market, we decided that, what, it's time to boss up. So everyone is bossing, flossing. The boss stops with me. We're bossing by faith. And so out of that, the Boss brand spawned, and it has just taken off. And we're really excited about that.
I want to bring in now Charlotte Avery and Dr. Tierney. Now, Charlotte Avery, being Charlotte Avery, comes from that faith space. And as a couple, you talked about the value and importance of your faith. And then also Dr. Tierney in her work as a coach on leveling up. And I think that conversations go together in a sense that, Charlotte, when you think, and you're watching this couple and they're talking about the number of years that they've been married, talk for us a little bit about faith as a foundation to keeping it together.
You can't be in business alone or with your spouse without faith. I mean, when you take that step into entrepreneurship, it is definitely a faith walk because you no longer have the comfort of a regular 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever your work schedule is. And so the faith portion is huge because, the Bible says we walk by faith and not by sight. And then it also says faith without works is dead. So you have to have faith and you have to do the work. And one thing that I love that I'm hearing is that these couples are saying so many key things. They have faith. They have their belief system. They have their belief system in God. They have their faith in each other. And they have their faith in the businesses that they're growing and developing and they're the people that they're working with, their clients. And so it is a huge faith walk. And I'm so proud of all of them for stepping out and saying, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to not only do it, our way, but we're going to do it God's way. And that's just really so very, very, very important.
In your work, Charlotte, do you find that, I know that everybody that views this show is not going to be a person of faith, but everybody has some type of a belief system. And so as it relates to marriages, because all of us in this segment are married, and we are watching this transition of how we do things, do you find, Charlotte, that there's a difference between the boundaries in a contractual marriage versus what's the word that I want to use, a covenant marriage?
Wow. That's a really good question. I don't even know. I don't know. Gosh, you stumped me there.
That's a good
The
one.
reason I threw you that question is because, and while you're thinking about that response, is that so many people are married and they don't know, I don't believe in my spouse. I don't see their gifts. I don't see their skill set. And they ran down to the courthouse, which there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of us heard God speak to us when we said, that's mine. This is the one that is for me. And so that marriage becomes covenant in the sense that God put us together. The cord of 3 strands cannot be easily broken. This is how we're going to balance. We're going to connect with God when we're having our dialogue about how business works. So within that context, do you think that it's, I won't say easier, but there are going to be times when, so in a contractual marriage, I may say things to you that I can't take back and I don't care. But in my covenant marriage, I recognize that you're my helpmate and I'm going to put a bubble in it and a pin there before we address each other.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, the covenant part of marriage, and how it carries on in business is just it's so crucial, because at the end of the day, it's not just that we're doing business, but we're doing business in marriage and we're doing it God's way. It's not just saying, you know what, I signed up for this and, now that it's not working, I'm out. It's, you know what, I signed up for this. I signed up to be married to you. I even signed up to be doing business with you, and we're going to be in it to win it come hell or high water. And so, when I think about, these couples and other couples doing, ministry together, and like you said, the covenant part, I always think about, and they have all done really well about addressing these 4 things. And it's these 4 C's. It's the consideration, it's the communication, the collaboration, and the celebration. And the thing is that when you are in covenant with somebody, you're able to do all of those things, and then you get to celebrate the wins and you get to mourn the losses. But it's different when it's not contractual, because then also we don't just get to see ourselves, but we also get to see God in it.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Dr. Tierney, leveling up is not easy, and couples working together, doing business together, in community together 24/7. I don't even want to exhale on that one. Share with us, if you will, what it looks like for couples who are consistently with each other, especially at the embryonic stages of business.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of in your space, and there's no separation because we're trying to get things moving along.
Yeah. Well, can I just say, Jamise and Gil basically told the truth when they said, well, some days you looking at him and he looking at you, and we trying to figure it out, and it ain't pretty, and there's some dark days. That is the absolute gospel. They told the truth, with that, because it's not always glamorous. It's not always what you see on social media. More often than not, it's not glamorous, and it is a give and take. It is a lot of compromise. So I'm actually, as you said, married, but I have a business, but my husband is not a part, of my business, but he is a part of my business. So I was that reluctant entrepreneur that got married in September of 2016 and lost my job in October, not even a month after we've gotten married. And so was kind of thrust into the world of entrepreneurship. And so while my husband still has a 9-to-5, he held it down so that I could go on this journey that God was calling me on. And so when things go up and down, in the business, my husband would often say, well, babe, I know my role. I know what my part is in this. And so even if you're married or in relationship and that person is not in business with you, it's still a partnership. It's still a 24/7, everyone knowing, their role. And so I love, Gil, what you said about that faith component and how important it is and how it has to be, the center, because even when we're working in our business, we're in this culture where we have glorified and glamified, the hustle and the grind, and, we have to do it and figure it out. And it's like, no, God never called us to be self-sufficient in that way. And oftentimes when we're doing that, we find ourselves being extra stressed, pressed. And we even look at it like, oh, if I'm busy and booked and stressed, then that means I'm doing something right. But we were never called to work from a place of stress. We're supposed to work from a place of rest, and it's from that place of rest that we're able to hear from God, get the clarity of the ideas and our next steps, and what does the Bible say? His word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. So if we're so busy and going and, then we won't hear what he's trying to say to us in our business or to us in our marriage, to make sure that both are staying strong as we're journeying to that next level.
Wow, such insight at this moment.
Yeah.
The Pinckneys, Charlotte, Avery, Dr. Tierney, thank you for sharing with us how you have boundaries and run your business, because it does allow people in this pandemic who are deciding that they need to take a break and step away from the 9 to 5 and feel comfortable with not having a paycheck. You've allowed them to see a glimpse into your marriage and relationship and how you conduct business. When we come back after the break, we're going to get some fitness tips from Mocha Lee. Let me tell you, if you're in business, you need time to step away from the computer, step away from Zoom, step away from everything that has nothing to do with self-care. When we're back after the break. Welcome back, everybody. That conversation with the Pinckneys, Dr. Tierney and Charlotte Avery, literally still has me thinking about how I can level up, if you will, in my own way that I conduct business and have my boundaries and create balance. I want to bring in now our fitness expert, Mocha Lee. Mocha.
Well, all right.
Well.
These conversations have been inspirational with a capital I, okay? And I just want to commend everyone because I'm an entrepreneur myself. Me and my husband have been married for going on 17 years. He's an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And guess what? All of us on this panel have a little bit of workaholic tendencies. It just comes with the territory.
Was that evident in the dialogue that there's some workaholics among us?
We got some workaholic stuff going on, but that's why we're talking about balance. And that's why I'm just happy to say, the couples that pray together, stay together. The couples that actually support each other, stay together. So we have to think about our bodies. Our bodies are our temples. And, to stay healthy, to stay in business, our bodies have to be, healthy and tip-top shape as well. So it's interesting, Dr. Jacquie, because a lot of times couples don't necessarily do so well working out together. You know what I mean? Like actually, hey babe, let's go work out together. My hubby and I would not necessarily say that we always do it that way. But in terms of support, I'm definitely supporting him and reminding him. He's literally in Miami right now. And I called him earlier. I said, are you still going to do the workout in the hotel? And he was like, yeah, I guess I will. The pressure. But I just know that it is important that we support each other in terms of reminding each other, yeah, you gotta still drink that water. You still gotta work out, exercise. And I think especially for the ladies, and I might be biased, but we have to figure out how to definitely go to a safe, calm space. And even if it's, just a few minutes of meditation, we're just better when we give ourselves that time first, because then we can be the better helpmate. Because a lot of times I don't think I necessarily understand my husband's goals. He's the visionary. I might not be. I might be more into the details. But in order for me to support him, I have to kind of feel good. And the way I feel good is, okay, I'm going to wake up and at least spend a few minutes going on a walk or doing some form of a workout or some meditation. Just, it's so healthy just to start your day that way. And believe it or not, there are times, especially if we happen to be on vacation, which, hello, let's all remember our vacation time. If we go on a walk together first thing in the morning, then it's like, hey, you're winning, because number one, you're walking, you're exercising together. And then it's a more calm space to just talk about some goals or talk about some dreams or, just continue to communicate, because as you said, it's communication. You got to keep doing it. Yeah. Absolutely.
What you said, now, y'all think I don't listen. And then sometimes I may not. And Mocha's my trainer, and I'm transparent and I'm open about that. And we're doing good together. And one of the boundaries that Mocha has for me is to check in with myself. And for those of you who are wondering, well, I don't have an accountability person, Mocha has me on her watch. And she'll be like, what's wrong with your rings?
Let's go. It's the Apple Watch. Yes, ma'am. I'm like,
what's wrong with your wings, your rings? What role does accountability to someone? Because, there are going to be people who are watching who are not married, but they have siblings, they have parents, they've got coworkers. Yes. How do you build in, especially as entrepreneurs, this accountability measure, if you will, for being able to keep your life on track? Burning the candle at both ends is definitely no longer the way to live. And this pandemic has taught us that you can be comfortable walking through Costco, getting a workout, going to the mailbox, turn your watch on, count your steps, do something. What tips do you have in store for our viewers on how to steal time for yourself and get fit?
Yes. Accountability is everything, Dr. Jacquie. It really is, because especially, when you think about New Year's resolutions and, okay, 2022 is my year, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. Well, unless somebody's holding you accountable to those things, it's going to be tough. So I would say, just like we all have those meetings that we schedule that are oh so important, the client meetings, the new business meetings, once that thing goes in your calendar, guess what? Not only are you going to show up, you're probably going to be early. Well, put yourself in the calendar as well. And if you haven't been working out at all and you feel a little guilty, then it's okay. At least put yourself on the calendar, like on a Tuesday and Thursday, and say, I'm going to start small. I might not be an early bird, but during my lunch break, I will get up and walk for 15 minutes. And if you're home-based, I'm in my home gym. Even if I get tired of the treadmill, I'll go up and down the steps. There's always a way to get a workout. There's jump rope. There's a lot of stuff you can do in your home space or in a small space without having to go through all the trouble of literally going to a gym or going somewhere else. But going back to the accountability, though, there has to be someone, hopefully it could be your mate, who at least checks in every now and then and just says, oh, how's it going? In a supportive way, because the last thing we need to hear is, the nagging. I try so hard not to be a nagging wife, but on the other hand, I'm like, babe, you said you were going to do it, so let's make sure you kind of stick to it, because we are getting older, and as we get older, we just have to pay more and more attention to our bodies, even if it's just a stretch session. And Dr. Jacquie, a little bit of yoga, a little bit of stretching goes a long way, and especially if it includes that heavy, deep breathing. that just really calms your mind so you can make those better business decisions. And I just have to say, I believe my husband and I have both been in our businesses for over 20 years. And he's an ex-track guy, I'm an ex-track girl. And I just think that combination of recognizing how important fitness is to your life and healthy eating too helps you have longevity. And that's really the goal. We're going to serve people better when we are doing what we do for a long time.
I want to bring in Titani Harris for a moment, because Titani is in the Midwest, everybody, and people that are in the Midwest, you know, everybody who's watching in places where it's cold. Titani, when we think about fitness and depression and people trying to run their businesses, and especially those people who, you know, have businesses that require them to either be outdoors or go and see other people, how do you help people cope with the seasonal depression? But specifically for men, what are some of the things that you would like to know in the area of fitness that can help men prepare themselves to stay in a good headspace?
I think number one is owning where you're at, right? Owning your feelings and your thoughts. Number two is seeking out support. Hence why I created TMH Man Cave for men, right? This brave space where men can kind of talk to each other about what's happening and lean on one another for support. Also, thinking about things that you can do, especially here in the Midwest, that don't require you to be outside in lieu of you having to be outside for your work anyway, right? So connecting with others will be important.
So connectivity, finding other people that are like-minded. Mocha, what kind of workouts should people indoors be doing? When you can't get out, there's snow everywhere, slip and fall for people of certain ages is a real thing. So what do we do? What do we need to get around the house? If someone wanted to go in their pantry right now, doesn't have access to weights, got that gym membership at the beginning of the year and has not been able to use it, what things around the house can we pull from that can give us the good workout that we might need?
Good question, because in your pantry, you may have cans, you may have water bottles, and you can use those as weights. I mean, you'd be surprised how creative you can get. It might feel light at first, but by the time you get to like 12 or 15 reps, these are bicep curls, by the way, you're actually working out. I've seen you do that on vacation. You had some water bottles and you were laying down doing your tricep presses. There's so many things you can do. If you have a towel, you'd be surprised how you could just take the towel up and stretch it around your body, and you're just getting a good stretch through your shoulders, because believe it or not, those of us who work at home are sitting at the computer at the desk a lot, and you just need to figure out how to stretch your muscles, stretch your body. So if you have a towel, if you have stairs, I've mentioned the stairs before because that's real. If you want to get your heart rate elevated, just go up and down the stairs a few times. My client this morning used the jump rope. There are a lot of things that you can do in your house. I'm telling you, just be creative. But if you're not up for something that's going to get your heart rate up and you need something calm, man, you could just lay on the floor, do stretches, do some tummy work, basic crunches. The list goes on and on, believe me. But I like sharing that stuff with people because sometimes you're so bogged down with work, you don't even think like, oh yeah, I could lay over here and just do a little bit of stretching, because you feel like you don't have the time. But believe me, if you make the time, then you feel even that much more productive.
Thank you, Mocha and Titani, for sharing those fitness tips and the ways for us to get out of our head and out of our own way. Sometimes you have to be your own accountability partner. David sure did it when he would pat himself on the back and he danced around and encouraged himself. And so it gives us that understanding that sometimes you have to be your own cheerleader. When we're back on Business, Balance, and Boundaries, we're going to talk to the Hallmans. I love this couple. I'm delighted to bring them to the space that we're in today when we're back after the break.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back to A Balanced Life. Now, let me just tell you, couples in business is not easy. If you have difficulty understanding, if you have a hard time putting words together, stringing two sentences for good communication, if you are not a good listener, then being in business with your mate may not be for you. So let's take a moment now to bring in the Holmans and learn about their story. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey, fabulous people with the amazing hats on your head. How are you doing today?
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, we're doing good. Yeah. Enjoy the show.
Thank you. I'm so delighted that you guys are with us in this space. You know, I had a chance to meet you at the Essence Music Festival. And of course, with this pandemic, we've not had a chance to get back together, but I enjoy what I bought from you. I appreciate your skill, your talent, and your expertise. So tell our audience about who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into this conversation about balance and boundaries in business.
We're traditional hat makers, which is called, we're millinery artists. And me and my husband, Kevin, and I, we have been hat makers for over 15 years, and we've been married for 12 years. So we normally exhibit and we travel a lot as a couple. We have our challenges and our balances, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, and we actually hand make everything, and we also dye our fabric. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
So I see that you have in the background with you some of your work. Now, for those of you who are accustomed to the term hat maker, you may have heard Suzette say that it is milliner. And so that is the correct term for what you do when you are designing and making hats and bringing that to the forefront. So who's the most creative among you two?
Definitely her. This woman right here is the one.
I'm the head designer. Yes.
So how do you decide what you're going to design, and do you guys collaborate? Do you run to the next room or say, hey, look what I made? Do you do your drawings? What is that process like for you? Because in the creative collaborative space, it's definitely a little different than the business side of it.
Well, actually what we do, we combined our work together, and we have meetings sometime to schedule our days. Well, most of the times, like, he would do the heavy part of the production, which is called the blocking, the pulling and the stretching of the fabric, as well as part of the lighter work, which is the design and the creativity of the men's hats. I will do the sewing, the wiring, and the sculpturing of the pieces, as you can see on some of the background, the techniques that we have, and the dye techniques as well behind. So it's a combination of both us working together to make it work. He has one area he works in, and I have one area I work in. Sometimes, well, most of the times I run into his area and I say, okay, what do you think of this? Do you like it? And then I feed off his energy and he feeds off my energy. Both of us feed off each energies for opinions for it to work, to be successful.
That's true.
Such an amazing testament to couples who know how to work together, who enjoy working together and are in that space of designing and creating. Now, have you ever walked down the street or been someplace and you said, that looks like something I created?
Yes, we have customers and testimonies that they will call us, and I have a customer, she's in Maryland, she will say, her neighbor will look out the window and say, oh, that's the hat out of hell. And I had to laugh because the hat is so hot and it looks so good on her that she calls it the hat out of hell. And that's a good customer of ours in Maryland.
Yeah, and I've had customers call me all the way across the other side of the country. They're somewhere in a restaurant or something, and they'll see a hat that looks like similar to what they're wearing, and they'll come up to the people. It's like, wow, where'd you get that hat from? And they'll mention, well, I got this hat from Essence Music Festival. And they said, well, we was at Capitol Jazz Festival. And they said, well, and we met this young man, the guy that makes these hats, and they both will collaborate. And one time a person called me up, and actually they both were in the same place, in the same restaurant, both talking to one another about their experiences of buying hats from me. So it was a good experience with that. Yeah.
So when you think about what it means to outfit an individual, because this is a part of the balance, and we're moving into that season where, you know, spring is going to be upon us. People want to get out. They're going to be going to dinner en blanc and white parties. People are starting to get out and go to concerts and to vineyards. How do you help someone decide the kind of hat that they should wear? And that's a part of not your boundary as a couple, but how do you help people say that hat's not for you? Let's put you in something else.
We're very honest, and that's what we're known for, our quality and our honesty. You may look at a hat and think that it's for you, but it's not for you. We go with your coloration, your lifestyle, and also the shape of your face, which is very important.
You said the shape of your face, not the size of your head.
No, the shape of your face is important. Supposing someone lives in another state like Iowa, and they may want a hat that is very avant-garde, but it may not look suitable for that particular moment, of that particular area that they're in. And they may like it because it's so artsy, but they may not feel comfortable wearing it. And also we have customers who are first-time hat wearers. So what I'm wearing is a simple design. It still has its artistic stitches, but it's not too much going on, like the one that's behind me, the open crown.
Very nice hat. Both of you. Now, I'm not going to even ask, because I was going to say, did you design the hats you're wearing? Well, of course that you did. So when you think about how you do business together and what that looks like, do you think that it's important for couples who are thinking about getting into business to really sit down and hammer it out first, or should they just go for it? What are some of the processes that you guys went through in starting your business?
Well, we went with the flow. Like, I went to Moore College of Art to study millinery, and then when I met Kevin, then I taught him the basic of hat making, how to make a hat. Communication is very important, and also your space as well, like the others have talked about. Communication and space, and your boundaries as well, because we work together 24/7. When everyone is sleeping, we're still working.
Yeah, and like earlier you were speaking about the different challenges and balancing things in your life and stuff. Well, compromise is very important, especially as designers, because I have a certain way I design, and she has a certain way she designs. And she's very funky and avant-garde, very talented. I'm a little more low-key a little bit. So sometimes we come together and we marriage those styles together to get a really good style. Sometimes I ask her, well, maybe it's my stuff. Does it look good? And she'll say, well, you know what, you need to jazz it up a little bit. Then I'll listen to her. So it depends on how you balance that and compromise your ideals. And so when you're designing, that's a real important part of our business as artisans.
Before we end this segment, you just used a C word that most people cringe when they hear that word. Tell me a little bit about the art of compromise, and how does that look in a marriage?
Oh, I'll leave it to you. Well, because I battle head sometimes.
When I think most of the people that was on the panel earlier, when you get into business, we all have our own individualities and our own personal, the way we are as people. And sometimes, she may have her way that she does something. I might have my way I do something. But as a business and as a couple in a relationship, sometimes you have to come in the middle to put that thing to get the best product, because I can see things that she doesn't see, and she can see things that I don't see. And the idea of compromise means that you take the best of all the ideas, you come to the middle, and you make something better than what I could propose or she could propose. And it's very important when you're dealing with a business, especially when you're married, because we can't leave our work like a 9 to 5 and I come home and I got something different to do. We live together, our responsibilities are joined together. So we really have to really be working as one and compromising a lot.
There's good compromise. And for our viewers, I want to thank Kevin and Suzette for joining us today. And I'm definitely looking forward to having you back, because as we get ready to break out into spring and we're talking a little bit more about how to balance your lifestyle, I'm looking forward to that conversation. Thank you guys for joining us. And when we come back after the break, I want to bring back Charlotte Avery. Now, this is a very unique situation, because being Charlotte Avery isn't always easy. When we're back after the break.
chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back to A Balanced Life, and I'm delighted to talk to our next guest and contributor. I hope that you've come to love Charlotte Avery as much as I do. Hey, Charlotte.
Hey, Dr. J.
How's your day going?
It's going pretty good. It's already been hijacked just a few times, and it's not even over.
This is the time that you have for Charlotte. And I want to talk a little bit about, okay, so let me just start with this. Your website is Being Charlotte Avery. And Being Charlotte Avery isn't always easy, but you've managed to blend as a part of the way that you balance, and you found this space to carve out being an author. Can you tell us a little bit about what it looks like to have business boundaries and balance being in a family of 9?
Oh my gosh. When you say being a family of 9, I'm just like, oh my gosh, we really are a family of 9. It's like, I know it, but then it becomes more real to me when somebody else says it. But you know, it's a lot of work. You know, I love what I've been called to do in being, you know, a woman, a wife, and a mother. And, you know, when I decided that I was going to come home and, you know, leave my job and be a stay-at-home mom for a while, you know, it was a hard decision, but it was an easy decision also because, you know, I was at a stage in my life when I was like, you know what, if somebody's going to raise my kids, I don't want it to be somebody else. I want it to be me. And, you know, as I was, you know, mothering it and wifing it and doing all the things, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, what about the things that I used to do, the things that I used to love? And that's when I decided to start a business. And that's when Mythicos Mommy and Being Charlotte Avery came about. And I started writing books and I started talking about the things that, you know, people don't always talk about. You know, my first book, No One Ever Told Me, that's the first book that I wrote because I was like, man, I'm momming it and I have a mom and my mom didn't tell me these things. But when I decided to do it, like I had to, you know, sit down with my husband and say, hey, you know what, this is what I want to do. And, you know, all the work, the majority of the work that I do, it kind of flows out of what I've been called to do, being a wife and a mom. And that's how I became the family strategist. But just doing it all together, you know, my life is, you know, when people, and you know this, when people ask me, you know, Charlotte, how do you balance everything? I'm like, I don't balance, I blend. But my life is really about, you know, prioritizing, strategizing, customizing, minimizing, and all the things, you know. And so, and then, you know, it's always the compromising, because I'm really careful, you know, to prioritize my family and my husband first before the work that I've been called to do. And so sometimes it can be difficult because every now and then there are things that I want to do right now. And then I realize, you know what, it's just not time. And God always has a way of showing me because he usually hijacks it. and I end up having to pivot and do something else and get my focus right. And so, my life is always, being Charlotte Avery really is about, those 5 things I said, the prioritizing, the strategizing, the customizing, the minimizing, and, the compromise.
Thank you for sharing those words of wisdom. When we come back, I want to share a short reflection because today has been nothing short of insightful and inspirational.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
Today on A Balanced Life, we've listened to couples talk about relationships. We've heard our contributors share the value and importance of communication. Let me challenge you as you go into this week and you think about what your life needs to look like. If you're out of balance, take time to communicate. First of all, have a little conversation with yourself. Get to the nitty-gritty of who you are and who you're in the process of becoming, and allow yourself to live in that space for a moment. If you happen to be married or dating or have a significant other, have some conversation and dialogue. Your goals and dreams and aspirations should not sit on the back burner any longer. Stop waiting for permission for other people to tell you that it's okay to live your dreams. And then ultimately, take time to give yourself grace. Grace to discover what's next in your life. During this pandemic, there has been nothing short of time. We've had so much time on our hands. So I hope that as you're planning to emerge from this pandemic, that you're moving your side hustle to become a legitimate business, that you're deciding that it's okay to take that leap of faith and start out into something new. I hope and pray that you are discovering how to live a balanced life.